If you're over Altmashbesh, what you're about to hear could completely change how you begin your mornings. Stroke doesn't usually come with a warning. One moment, everything feels normal, and the next, your arm won't move. Your speech is slurred, or your thoughts feel scattered. As a neurologist with over 30 years of experience working with older adults, I've seen a clear pattern again and again. Many seniors are unknowingly raising their stroke risk every single morning, not through anything dramatic, but through small, everyday habits they barely notice. The truth is, stroke isn't sudden. It builds slowly, through quiet pressure on the brain, especially in the early hours after waking, when your body is still adjusting and your brain is most vulnerable. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the daily routines that could be quietly increasing your stroke risk, and more importantly, I'll share simple, practical changes you can make starting tomorrow that could help protect your brain, your memory, and your independence. So stick with me. By the end, you won't just know what the red flags are, you'll know how to take the meaningful steps to keep your brain strong and your future steady. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. 1. Skipping or mismanaging your morning medications. If you're someone who takes medication in the morning, whether it's for blood pressure, cholesterol, blood thinners, or heart rhythm, this might be one of the most important things you hear today. Let me be clear, skipping a dose, taking it late, or trying to catch up by doubling up might feel harmless, but it can quietly set the stage for a life-altering stroke. I'll never forget one of my patients, Mrs. Evelyn. She was 76, a retired nurse living alone in rural Georgia, sharp-minded, independent, and managing high blood pressure for years with daily medication. She told me more than once, "Sometimes I forget a pill, but I just take 2 the next day to balance it out." That catch-up habit seemed innocent until the day she missed. 2 days in a row, she woke up with a pounding headache and couldn't form full sentences. By the time the ambulance arrived, she was in the middle of a hemorrhagic stroke, a severe brain bleed, caused by a sudden blood pressure spike and worsened by taking too much medication too late. She survived, but her speech was gone for nearly 6 months, and that one small mistake changed her life. As a neurologist, I've seen this pattern far too many times. Seniors with good intentions, trying to stay on top of things, but unaware of just how sensitive the brain is to changes in routine. Morning is when your body naturally raises your blood pressure to prepare for the day ahead. If you already have stiff or narrowed arteries, something that's common with age, this surge can be dangerous. That's why blood pressure meds, statins, and blood thinners are often prescribed to be taken early, before this natural spike has a chance to cause damage. But if you miss a dose or delay it, your protection slips away and your brain is left exposed at the most vulnerable moment. And here's what's even more concerning. Some seniors wash their pills down with coffee instead of water. Or worse, skip water altogether. That might seem small, but it can change how well your body absorbs the medicine. And stopping your meds completely just because you feel fine, that's one of the most common mistakes I see. Stroke doesn't care how you feel today. It cares about how stable your circulation has been over time. Most people don't realize that taking medication the wrong way can be just as risky as not taking it at all. Doubling your dose the next day can send your blood pressure crashing too low, causing dizziness, dangerous falls, or internal bleeding, especially if you're on anticoagulants. The bottom line, once a stroke hits, there are no do-overs. That little bottle of pills sitting on your nightstand, it carries more weight than you realize. It's not just a chore, it's your first line of defense against serious brain injury. So what can you do? Set a reminder. Use a pill organizer. Ask your doctor or pharmacist to help simplify your routine if it feels overwhelming. You don't have to be perfect, but you do need to be consistent. And even if you've nailed your medication routine, there's one more common mistake that could quietly undo its benefits before you've even had breakfast. What if I told you that your morning cup of coffee, especially on an empty stomach, might be sending your blood pressure into dangerous territory before the day even begins? Let me show you what's really happening inside your body when that first sip hits your system. 2. Drinking coffee on an empty stomach. There's a simple routine that millions of older adults start their day with: waking up, heading to the kitchen, and pouring that first warm cup of coffee. It's comforting, familiar, feels like a little promise that the day's about to begin. But if you're drinking coffee on an empty stomach before you've had water or even a bite of food, you might be triggering a chain reaction in your body that's far from harmless. And the consequences can be much bigger than you think. Let me tell you about Mr. Charles, a 77-year-old Korean War veteran from Arizona. He was sharp, disciplined, and proud of his daily habits. Coffee keeps me alert, he told me during our first appointment. For decades, he'd start every morning with 2 large mugs, always before breakfast. It was a routine he trusted. Until one morning, right after finishing his coffee, he started feeling lightheaded. His heart was racing. Within minutes, he collapsed. Charles had experienced what's called a transient ischemic attack, a TIA, or mini-stroke, caused by a sudden spike in blood pressure and an irregular heart rhythm. He had no idea that drinking coffee on an empty stomach had been silently setting the stage for this. When caffeine hits your system without any food or hydration to cushion it, the stimulant gets absorbed quickly. That jolt triggers a sharp rise in adrenaline, constricts your blood vessels, and speeds up your heart rate. For younger folks, the body can usually handle it. But in seniors, whose arteries may already be stiff or narrowed, that shock can cause real damage. And Charles isn't alone. Coffee, especially when taken the wrong way, can push an aging cardiovascular system too far. Instead of gently waking you up, it slams your nervous system into high gear. The result: elevated cortisol levels, faster heartbeat, and blood vessels that constrict when they should be expanding. This throws off your brain's delicate oxygen supply, and your brain isn't built to work under those extremes. Even worse, that rush of energy can mask signs that something's off. You might feel awake, but what's really happening is your body is in stress mode. You're running on fumes, dehydrated, possibly low on blood sugar, and unaware that your body is compensating behind the scenes. And if you already have conditions like high blood pressure, atrial fibrillation, or even early memory issues, this isn't just a risky habit, it's a dangerous one. I've seen too many patients who thought their daily coffee was harmless until it wasn't. Stroke doesn't always need a big trigger. Sometimes it just needs one bad moment, the wrong pressure at the wrong time. So here's what I tell my patients. Start with water, always. Rehydrate your system first. Then eat something small. A boiled egg. A piece of toast. A banana, anything to give your body a base. Only then should you sip your coffee. Keep it to one moderate cup. Skip the sugar bomb and heavy creamer. And most importantly, respect what it can do to your system. Because your brain isn't begging for caffeine, it's asking for oxygen, hydration, and a stable start to the day. And that habit that feels like it gets you going. It might be the same one quietly pushing your brain toward danger, but even if you've got your coffee routine under control, there's another trap I see all the time sitting right there on the breakfast plate. It looks healthy, but it's packed with the one thing your brain fears most. Let's talk about sodium and why that salty morning meal might be doing far more harm than you realize. 3. Holding in your morning urine. It's a habit so normal, so automatic, that most people don't give it a second thought. But for older adults, holding in your urine first thing in the morning can actually be a silent danger, one that's far more serious than it seems. What feels like a small delay, checking your phone, sipping some coffee, getting through a few emails can quietly set off a chain reaction in your body that increases your risk for stroke, heart issues, and blood pressure spikes without any warning. Let me share a story. Mrs. Darlene, 79 years old, a widow from Indiana, was sharp, independent, and set in her routine. Every morning she'd wake up, sit in bed with her iPad, read the news, and enjoy a slow cup of coffee. She always put off going to the bathroom until she was ready, never liked feeling rushed. What she didn't realize, and what no one had ever told her, is that the longer she delayed that first morning trip to the restroom, the more stress she was putting on her body. Her bladder would be full, but so were her stress hormones. One morning after a restless night and a second cup of coffee, she stood up and collapsed. She'd suffered a hypertensive crisis, leading to a mild stroke. She survived, thankfully, but her balance and mobility have never been quite the same. I thought it was just a bad habit, she told me later. I never imagined it was putting me at risk. Here's what actually happens in the body when you hold in your urine after waking. Your brain and nervous system recognize a full bladder as a kind of internal stress. In response, your adrenal glands release cortisol and adrenaline fight-or-flight hormones. These cause your blood vessels to tighten and your blood pressure to rise. And for seniors, especially those with a history of high blood pressure, heart disease, or stroke risk, that's a dangerous combination. This isn't just about bladder pressure. The stress extends to your whole cardiovascular system. Your heart has to work harder to pump blood. The arteries in your brain, which may already be stiff or narrowed with age. I feel that increased pressure first. That's when a clot can form or a blood vessel can burst. And there's more. A full bladder can also disrupt your heart rhythm. In seniors with existing heart issues, this can trigger something called atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat that makes it much easier for a clot to form and travel to the brain. We often say, listen to your body. But as we get older, we tend to downplay the small signals, the quiet urgencies, the subtle cues, and those overlooked moments are sometimes the very things that lead to bigger problems down the line. So tomorrow morning, when you feel that first urge, don't delay. Don't scroll through the news. Don't wait for your coffee. Don't tell yourself it can wait. Just go. It's not just about comfort, it's about protecting your brain and your heart. Because when your bladder sends a signal, your brain is paying attention. And if you ignore it, the price might be more than a few minutes of inconvenience. Still, even if you do this right, there's another mistake I see all the time. and it happens within seconds of waking up. It's not about coffee, or pills, or posture. It's about ignoring something your body might already be telling you. That faint, dizzy, unsteady feeling some seniors get as soon as they open their eyes. Most brush it off, but ignoring morning dizziness or weakness could be setting you up for a serious fall, or worse. Let's talk about why this early signal matters more than you think. 4. Ignoring morning dizziness or weakness. It often begins with something so small, so ordinary, that most seniors don't even think twice about it. You wake up, feel a little ditzy. Maybe your legs feel a bit shaky, or your grip seems weaker than usual. Your speech might sound slightly off, or one side of your face just feels different. You sit at the edge of the bed, tell yourself it's just part of getting older, and move on with your day. But here's the truth, and I don't say this to scare you. I say it to protect you. Those aren't just senior moments, and they should never be ignored. As a neurologist, I've seen this exact situation too many times. It's not the symptoms themselves that cause the most damage. It's the fact that they're often dismissed. What gets brushed off today as nothing could cost you everything tomorrow? Let me share a story. Mr. Harold James Basrar, a retired firefighter from Indiana. Strong, active, and full of life. Every Saturday, he'd take his grandson fishing. One morning, he told his wife something felt off. His coffee mug slipped from his left hand, and his face felt a bit odd. He figured it was arthritis, or maybe he just slept funny. He didn't call anyone, didn't mention it again. 2 days later, Harold had a massive ischemic stroke. His entire left side was paralyzed. He lost the ability to speak clearly. Those quiet mornings on the lake with his grandson gone, his independence gone. Not because he was fragile, but because he ignored the early signs. Here's what many people don't know. Those mild symptoms, dizziness, weakness in one arm, slight facial numbness, slurred words can be signs of a TIA, or transient ischemic attack, a mini stroke, a fire alarm in the brain. The event may be brief, but the danger isn't over once it passes. Studies show that 1 in 3 people who experience a TIA will suffer a major stroke within 12 months, and most of those happen within the first 48 hours. And when do these signs most often appear? Early in the morning. That's when your blood is thickest. Your pressure starts to rise, and your brain is still waking up from sleep, vulnerable, sensitive, and unprotected. You might think it's nothing, that it'll pass, but a small symptom can quickly turn into a major, irreversible outcome. That's why I always tell my patients, if something feels off, even for a moment, document it. Look in the mirror, smile, raise both arms, say a full sentence out loud. If anything seems strange, don't wait. Call your doctor. And if you have a loved one who tends to brush these things off, don't let them. Because once a stroke hits, it's not just the brain that takes the blow. It's your freedom, your memories, your relationships. And not everything lost can be rebuilt. But there is hope. If you listen to the small whispers your body gives you, you can prevent the louder screams that come later. Treat the little things like they matter, because they do. And here's something else I wish more people understood. Even if you're aware of your symptoms, the very first thing you do after waking up can put your brain at even more risk before you even take your first step. Most seniors don't realize how dangerous it can be to jump out of bed too quickly. Let me show you why those first 10 seconds could be the most critical part of your entire morning routine. 5. jumping out of bed too quickly. It's something so ordinary, so ingrained in our daily lives, that most people never stop to question it, especially older adults who've spent a lifetime rising with intention. You wake up, swing your legs over the edge of the bed, and stand. It feels automatic, second nature. But for seniors, that simple act of getting out of bed too quickly could be one of the most dangerous moments of the day and the time when your brain is at its most vulnerable. Here's why. After a full night of sleep, your body has settled into a deeply relaxed state. Your blood pressure is lower, your heart rate is slower, and your brain has been horizontal for 6 to 8 hours. The second you sit up or stand, gravity pulls blood down toward your legs and away from your brain. In younger, healthy bodies, the adjustment is immediate. But in older adults, especially those with stiff arteries, heart conditions, or a history of low blood pressure, that adjustment can fail fast. And what happens next can be serious. A sharp drop in blood flow to the brain can lead to dizziness, fainting, a sudden fall, or in the worst cases, a stroke. I think of Mr. Ray, a 74-year-old retired farmer from Iowa. He was proud of his early morning routine, always up before sunrise. No time to waste. Lying in bed just never sat right with me. He told me once, but one morning, he stood up quickly, like always, walked a few steps and collapsed. His wife found him moments later, disoriented and unable to speak. He'd suffered a left-sided ischemic stroke. His scans later showed multiple small infarcts, evidence that his brain had already been struggling for oxygen during those rushed mornings. That final collapse wasn't the first warning sign, it was the last. Medically, this condition is called orthostatic hypotension, a sudden drop in blood pressure when you change positions. It's common in seniors, and even more dangerous when mixed with other factors like dehydration, medication side effects, or poor sleep. And the signs. They're easy to miss: feeling lightheaded, a moment of blurred vision, a floating sensation when you sit up, but the outcome can be life-altering. The real danger here is that this all unfolds at the exact time your brain is trying to transition from sleep to wakefulness. You're asking your heart to pump harder and faster before it's had a chance to catch up, and that rapid pressure shift can overwhelm aging blood vessels. And if you fall, the consequences go far beyond bruises. Hip fractures, for example, have a 1 in 5 mortality rate in seniors within the first year. It's not just about avoiding injury, it's about preserving independence, dignity, and quality of life. So, here's the advice I give every senior I care for. When you wake up, don't rush. Pause. Take 3 deep breaths. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Let your body reconnect with itself. Then slowly sit up and give it another few seconds. Only when you feel steady should you rise. Those 90 to 120 seconds might seem small, but they can mean the difference between an ordinary morning and the beginning of a long, painful journey of recovery. Because stroke doesn't just take your movement, it takes your time, your memories, your ease. But the power to protect yourself is in your hands. And here's the good news. When you understand the risks, you can take action. Every lesson you've learned, from how you manage your pills to how you treat those early morning sensations, adds up to one clear truth. Your mornings matter more than you know. So let's bring it all together now. And I'll walk you through exactly how to reshape your morning into a brain-protecting routine, one step at a time. Your morning habits have more power than you realize. After decades of working with aging brains, There's one lesson I've seen play out time and time again. It's not the big fermanius, dramatic events that hurt us most. It's the little things we overlook, the small choices we brush off each day. A stroke doesn't always come with flashing lights and sudden collapse. Sometimes, it begins quietly with a bit of dizziness. You ignore a pill you forget to take, a glass of water you skip, or waiting too long to use the bathroom. Maybe it's jumping out of bed like you always have, not realizing your body isn't handling it the same way anymore. Once you reach your 60s, 70s, and beyond, your body speaks in new ways. And if you don't listen, if you keep pushing through out of habit, the cost can be high. Not just in terms of your physical health, but your independence, your identity, and the life you've worked so hard to build. Think about everything you've done to get here. You've supported loved ones, built a home, contributed to your community, faced challenges, and come through them. You've earned the right to enjoy your later years clear-headed, steady on your feet, and fully present for the people and moments that matter most. But that future depends on what you do in the first few minutes of your day. The habits we talked about today may sound simple. Sit up slowly. Drink water before coffee. Take your medications on time. Don't ignore little warning signs. Pay attention to what your body is telling you, even the quiet whispers. These aren't minor suggestions. They're life-preserving steps. I've seen patients live more than a decade longer, stronger, sharper, and more connected just because they adjusted their morning routine. I've also sat with families devastated by loss that might have been avoided with just a few small changes. Please don't wait for a wake-up call. Let this message be the moment you decide to take your morning seriously. Let this be the turning point where you slow down, pay attention, and begin treating your brain with the care it needs. Because how you start your morning doesn't just shape your day, it shapes your future. You're not too old. It's not too late. You're not powerless. With consistency, awareness, and a little patience, you can protect the most valuable thing. You have your mind. So, tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes, pause, breathe, don't rush. Think about what you've learned here, and start your day with purpose, not just for yourself, but for those who love you and want many more mornings with you. Every stroke that's prevented is a life that stays whole, and every mindful morning is a step toward a longer, healthier future. If this message resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. Share one habit you plan to change. Let's support one another in building better mornings together. And if you found this helpful, leave a 1 in the comments or a 0 if it didn't connect. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights like this. Here's to living life on your own terms, one morning at a time.